Welcome to the Board Game Barbecue Podcast, episode number 312, brought to you by Advent Games and our Patreons. My name is Mitch. I'm in the host chair today, so I will be taking you through this episode. I'm also here with my colleague, Jules. How you doing, Jules?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited for our chat today.
So this episode was on my Fired Up last week, so I'm very excited about this episode. But the reason for that is because we have some special guests on the show with us today. Joining us all the way from the USA are the hosts of the Motor City Gameworks Not a Food podcast. It's the master of mastication, Matt Riddle, and the viceroy of Vegemite, Adam Hill. How you doing, guys?
What's up, guys?
I'm doing great, and I love some Vegemite.
Can we still call it a podcast? It's just like biannual. Like, are we allowed to?
We had a 1-episode season in season 2.
It's true.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And so season 3 just dropped another episode, and it might also be a 1-episode season. So don't miss that. Don't want people to miss that.
That old proverb, right? Good things come to those who wait, right?
It's true. I mean, listen,
also, sometimes nothing.
Or if it's still twitching, it's still alive.
Right.
Yes.
Or if you wish in one hand and... Oh, wait. Never mind. I'm not going to finish that one.
It's a different saying.
Yeah.
But you are only 2/3 of the Motor City Gameworks team. We are missing Ben Pinchback tonight, but just because Ben's not here, that doesn't mean we can't talk about him, right?
Absolutely not. We can talk about it anytime we want. As much as we want.
100%. All the time.
Excellent. All right. So, getting into games then, I'm going to throw over to you guys to kick things off and let us know, what have you guys been up to? What's on the boil at Motor City at the moment? And how's it all going?
You got it,
Adam? I got you. So here's the thing. Listen, we're smooth. You can tell we do this all the time.
That's how Motor City rolls.
No, so listen, honestly, it's funny because we're sitting here. I think it's like the dawn, the Essen Eve, as they say. And I think what's big for us right now is we're finally, for those folks that now, not all of our Australian listeners don't have it yet, but it's getting close, right? So All Play is currently fulfilling River Valley Glassworks, which was our big title from the summer. It was a Gen Con release. Backers had to wait a smidge past Gen Con, as it turns out. Happens sometimes. They've been, for the most part, very understanding. Some folks are very reasonably frustrated because there was a little bit more of a delay than I think was expected. But that said, that River Valley's, been in. It was at Target, in the States, and it was at a Gen Con release, and finally it's getting to backers, which is awesome. And it's also going to be, I think, at Essen coming up this week. So River Valley's been doing great. It's on BGA if you want to try it on Board Game Arena. And it's been, really, honestly, as great as we thought it could do. It's been doing just that well. It's been really well received. Right. It's been popular. It's a game that really has a pretty broad appeal, families, and so it's doing a really good job of sort of meeting that market of people that do buy a game at Target or Barnes and Nobles or like a more of a non-gamer store, and they're able to follow the rules and play it, and that's been really, really cool to see. So that's kind of been exciting. And the other end of the spectrum is our Essen release, which is Beyond the Horizon. And Beyond the Horizon is our sequel to Beyond the Sun. So, Beyond the Sun was a pretty big hit a couple, about 4 or 5 years ago now. And there's a whole backstory with Rio Grande and some changes in personnel there, and Dennis, the designer of Beyond the Sun. But the good news is we all got together, us and Dennis, and said, hey, this is a good idea. We should do this. And we did it, and it turned out really well. And then we had to find a new home for it. So Cranio Creations, who is most famously, Simone Luciani, is they do all his stuff. He's their kind of design lead, sort of prospector, etc. Right? He's their developer. So we worked with him on it, which is really awesome. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty cool to work with Simone Luciani.
Dude, that is a bucket list. He's like my favorite designer.
Yeah, he is literally And
I like to think that I'm his. You know what he never said? That. I said to him, I was like, in my mind, I was like, don't overreact. And I was like, oh my God, you're my favorite designer. And I think I handled it well. He didn't say, I feel the same about you, Adam. Which was weird.
He didn't say Godspeed was in his top 5?
He didn't, and I was stunned. But I think he was just holding back. Like, I think he did a better job of holding back.
Cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I know it is. So
yeah.
It's all good.
No, that's fair, Adam. I don't disagree. But that said, Simone Luciani is the developer for Beyond the Horizon. It is Cranio's big Essen release, as well as Simone's game Golden Cup, I think it's called. So that's their 2 Essen releases, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
If there's ever a year we were going to go to Essen, it should have been this year. We didn't. Unlike Jules, we're not world travelers. So, it's too bad. But it's pretty exciting, though. We're really excited to see how that goes. I mean, so far the buzz has been good around that one. Obviously, coming out of Essen, we'll see how it did. But so far, so good.
Yeah, right. The one thing you don't know about Jules and his world travel is that over here, our government actually gives us funds to get him out of the country.
That's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
No, that sounds good. You guys are busy. Got a lot going on. Jules and I actually, being that Jules is the world traveler, he was actually able to pick up a copy of River Valley Glassworks over at Gen Con, which I believe was someone, I heard a rumor on the grapevine that was the game of the con, right? River Valley Glassworks.
It was pretty hot.
So.
We're not counting numbers or anything here, but that's what I heard on the one season episode of the River Valley, not the River Valley Glassworks podcast, Motor City Gameworks podcast.
They're really one and the same at this point because all we talked about was that.
It's true.
But we've done the numbers, and we think it was it was great.
Yeah.
It was really well received, and we couldn't be happier just to be able to walk around and see so many people playing and enjoying and loving the game, and then be like, okay, I want to own this. This is immediately, just that immediate, this is a kind of game I really love. That was super fun. And they went all out, man. They had like a 7-foot tall otter.
Which was slightly amusing and terrifying at the same time.
100%. And it was great. And they had a normal, there was an alligator that was stuffed. It was, there were mascots is basically what I'm getting at. And that's kind of fun. There was just the whole thing. And then getting to, sign games. Like, we were taking bets on the over and under of how many people would leave the convention hall to come to a different room in order to have us sign the game.
Yeah.
And our over-under was set at 4.5 people. and I think only one of us took the over. But that person was so right, because people came and got it signed. It was great. It was just a super fun time.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
It was really funny. So Mitch had said to me before you go to Gen Con, the guys are going to be there. It'd be cool if you go see them. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I get to Gen Con. This is my first experience. And I know there's a lot of people there, but you can't comprehend it until you see it. And it's like, there's so much going on. And I've described to people that it's the only time I've gone to a convention and had FOMO while I am at the convention, because there's so much to do. You can't do it all. Normally you get FOMO for not going. I got FOMO while there. It was insane.
It was. And one of the things that I had FOMO about at Gen Con was that we didn't actually get to stay for the sausage sizzle.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That y'all had.
Yes.
We were there as people were breaking into it, and I was like, oh man, this is what I would like to be doing.
Yeah.
So you didn't.
We had a meeting we had to go to.
Sandwich?
No, I didn't. We had to leave, but I was looking at it I'm doing a business decision right now because we have an actual meeting with a publisher. But I wish I were staying here.
I literally thought about this show, not because I remembered I was going to be on it, though I didn't know I was going to be on it today, because I had a sausage and a piece of white bread, and I'm a pretty staunch hot dog bun guy. Okay, I like a hot dog bun. I do. We didn't have any. I wasn't going to go buy hot dog buns for one last sausage. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wrap it in the white bread, and it's pretty good. I'm just saying, it was fine.
Okay,
nice.
Listen,
it is.
I've been converted. I've given up on hot dog buns. they're not high quality bread.
No, not at all.
And so it's just a lot more bread, and it's a lot more of the part of the bread that most people don't want, which is
That's right.
generic, like
Mhm.
white bread crust. And I'm like, you know what? If you
Why?
just put this on a slice of white bread, this is better.
It's the
Fold it
most
up.
I think
efficient.
y'all are right.
It's the
Yep.
most efficient delivery system for elongated meats. That's what it is
Yes.
about.
That's what. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you can't beat a sausage sizzle, no doubt.
Yeah, elongated
Yeah.
meat
And-
delivery system was my nickname in college.
I was just going to say as well. So much was going on at Gen Con, and I had a little bit of spare time, and I wanted to pick up some review copies. And River Valley Glassworks and a couple other games from All Play was in that mix. So I went to the extra room that Adam was mentioning. And it just so happened to be the period of time, the window of that day where those guys were doing signings. And I was talking to someone at the booth and saying, hey, this is who I am. Can I get a review copy? And they sorted me out. And I could hear them talking. I turned around. I'm like, no way. And I introduced myself. And I think it was Adam sort of like jumped up and was like, hey.
I'm a hugger. I can't help it.
And then I realized this is probably the opposite experience you probably had until this point of the convention. I recognized you guys first, then I realized, oh, that's Andrew.
Well, you're the only one that went that direction.
That's right. That's right. I can say that people came and had their game signed by us, and that was fun. Did anyone cry? No. But Andrew had someone cry.
Really?
And like tell him, you've made such a difference in my life. Like you have, and like it was so touching. And he finished up and we were like,
Does that
well,
happen
no
all the
one's
time?
done that for us. like, do you have that experience a lot? And
I've heard
he
Mitch
does.
sob a few tears. He's like, I finally got that combo in I've done it.
I filled all my oyster boats.
That's right.
No, but it was
Exactly.
it was really great meeting you guys in person. And of course, Andrew as well. It was so good meeting him in person. But it was just a really awesome happenstance that occurred. It was great.
It
That's
was a really
actually
good
the
time.
best part about Gen Con. To your point, Jules, it is really hard to plan on doing anything because there's 60,000 people, literally, or 70,000 people, whatever it was this year, jammed into a large space, but still, a lot of people. And you want to do the things you think you're going to do, like meet person X and go to this thing over here and go to this event, and things just happen because you're doing so much and there's so much happening that it's hard to really keep track of everything that you're doing. So, it is that those moments where you actually get to meet someone that you've talked to or listened to or play their game or whatever it is are really cool. And that's I know Essen's that way too for a lot of folks, but Gen Con, for those of us stateside especially, that's our biggest chance to have those opportunities and have those those moments. And I'm with you completely. It was awesome to see and meet you and hang out and check out the game store and miss out on the sausages for different reasons for me, as it turns out.
Yes.
Being old and fat reasons, but
small health crisis.
It was fine. Everything was good. It was no big deal, as it turns out. But all that. But it is. I love Gen Con for that reason. Like it had been, 5 years since we'd been. 2019 was our last Gen Con prior to that, and I didn't miss it per se because I don't love cons. But once I was there,
he didn't miss it because Matt's not fun. Okay,
true.
like I want to clarify, if there is an old curmudgeon on our team, it's Matt.
I think it's me on our team, right? So we get along well, Matt.
100%.
Yes, there it is. Yep, absolutely, Mitch.
I was going to say one more happenstance that I didn't learn until I listened to your last episode. We were staying in the same suburb, Broad Ripple. I was in the Airbnb. I know. Where was the late night gaming happening? Oh well. Next time.
Yeah.
You could have listened to too much of their podcast because didn't they say they were home in bed by 9 o'clock as well?
Oh, that's also true.
Look, Mitch. Some things you don't need to say out loud. Okay, so Jules, what was your favorite game that you got from Gen Con?
From Gen Con, That's a tough one because, believe it or not, going into Gen Con, I didn't really have a wish list. I just picked up a few games that I thought would be really great for the community to try back here and put in the library. I got to play Rock Hard, which was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I brought that back. It was just really solid. I think the one that's been hitting the table the most that I've had a lot of fun with, would be Things and Rings.
it's great.
Good game.
Yeah.
Things and Rings is so good. Like I think everyone kind of likes a Venn diagram automatically. Like if you're familiar with, if that's something that you do, like there's an inherent cleverness to a Venn diagram, as well as also it's just ripe for argument right off the bat because you're going to disagree with what goes where. And then to put a game around that was super clever. That was one of our, kind of like just random pick up small play, and we got to play it with the guy that's developing our game that's coming out with Queen next year, which is a pretty cool, pretty fun moment too. And it was just it's just a great game. Super easy. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. They didn't overthink it. Great. And that's oh gosh, who designed that, Adam?
That's Peter
Hayward. Yes. Yep. So we, shout out to Peter. Excellent game. He's Australian, right?
I don't know.
Not sure.
I thought he was English.
Is he?
But
is
you
he
know,
English?
it could go either way.
Yeah,
True.
It could go either way.
Yeah.
When it comes to accents, Americans are not really the best. We're like, South African. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a go as well. Jules brought, when Jules got back, he brought it around to my place, and we had a crack at that with my family. Well, half of my family, my wife and my daughter as well. And yeah, they straight into it. And I think we played 2 or 3 times in a row, Jules.
Yeah, I think so.
From memory, like everyone wanted to have a turn being the clue giver guy.
The knower.
The knower. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'll vouch for that as well. It's a good time.
I mean, as Adam covered. Oh, sorry, I'm going to say, as Adam made clear earlier, we know you don't all know each other, but he is Australian, for what it's worth.
There you go.
There you go.
So not sure
He
where
is
from.
Australian. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to find where he is, Jules, and drop in on
Peter
him.
C. Hayward.
That's it.
He makes some good games.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the game that I loved. It's Australian themed.
Oh, yes.
And Ian O'Toole did the art.
Mm-hmm.
But it's by the Brands, and it's called Sausage Sizzle.
Yes.
And it's the stupidest, funnest game. It has no business being as fun as it is.
100%.
And you get the table just 8 people screaming out wiener, just hoping that someone rolls. It's the best moment. I'm telling you what, they nailed it with that one. I love it. I've bought like 6 copies at this point because I'm giving them away as gifts. So it's great.
Yeah.
And I know it was Wurfelwurst, and then it got re-themed when 25th Century acquired it, and they brought Ian O'Toole on to do it. And he was like, I really want to make this Australian. Yeah. And he nailed it. It's great.
Yeah, we love it. It's great. We had so Ian brought a bunch of copies to. I think he got a bit of an advance on it.
He did,
so he brought it to our con we did in July over here, PlayCon, and I'd say it was the hit of our con
for sure,
because you would just walk through the gaming hall and, like you said, Adam, there's just got a table of people banging their hands on the desk, screaming sausage.
It's great.
Absolute cracker. Yeah, can't get enough of it. But we also did, Jules, when you brought Things and Rings over, we also had a go of River Valley Glassworks.
We did, yes.
Do you want to, how about we have a chat about that for a while and get into a little bit more detail? How did you find the game?
Yeah, I thought it was really enjoyable. Actually, the first time we played it, it was just you and me, and then we did a second game with your daughter.
Yep.
Hold on, Jules. I wanted you to say, I kind of hated it. Like, I was hoping you'd be like, you know what?
Man.
Sorry, guys, it sucked. But yeah, I'm glad
that was a setup right there.
Lay it down easy then.
He hasn't finished yet, Matt.
Yeah, that's it.
All he said was he liked the first game.
No, what was really interesting was the first game, the reaction me and Mitch had was like, it's done already? That was quick.
Yeah. Yep.
Too quick. No, but it's really clever. As soon as it was done, my brain automatically started going to the math. Like, what is the perfect score? Like, what is it? A bell curve? Is it a reverse bell curve? Like, what's the math behind this game? But then on the first game, I did really well. And second game, because my head went to how do you get a perfect score? What is the optimal shape that you have to make? And I'll explain the game in a bit. But because I tried to figure out the perfect shape and everything, I did abysmal. It was so bad. I had the worst score of the group. And it's a very, very simple game. River Valley Glassworks, you have a bunch of pieces in a pouch, and they're different shaped glass pieces. And there are a bunch of river tiles that have corresponding matching shapes along the river. And all you'll do is place a matching piece from your pouch onto the river, and you can take all of the glass pieces on an adjacent tile. You can also break that by playing 2 of the same shape onto any tile, and again, grabbing all the pieces from an adjacent tile. And it has that similarity, for me at least, to Azul, in that you take all of a color from an area and then the rest gets shoved in the middle. It's got that feeling of the pieces moving around the board. And when you grab them all, then you just place them in columns on your board. You've got a grid, and you have to work left to right, and you put all of the same color in each column. And basically, you're going to be scoring for your 2 tallest columns, and then every complete row, as far as left to right as it goes, that has no gaps. And the combination of that scoring gives you the highest score and the highest wins. But the randomness and what people choose, and the pieces moving down the river, and then things getting newly placed on the board, creates this interesting puzzle that you've got to work around. And I think it didn't happen in the first game, where I was getting pieces beyond. So if you max out the height, the columns of those glass pieces, you have to put an excess, and you start accumulating negative points. It didn't happen in the first game, but the second game, there were many options that I had to consider whether it was worth taking those negative points. And then I started to see more of the game. I'm like, I hate this and I love this.
Well, and my experience was pretty much exactly the same. The first game, we were kind of like looking at each other at the end going, that took us longer to set up than it took us to play.
Yeah.
Like we just whizzed through it. And I think that's an exaggeration, but it was close.
Not by a lot.
Because what we did in the first game, at least what I did, and I think Jules was doing the same thing, was I was just going for tiles that had the most pieces on it.
Mm.
I didn't care what shapes I was picking up or what colors. I wasn't really thinking that far into the game. I was just like, well, of course, it's going to be better for me to get 4 pieces than it will to get, 2. And I hadn't even seen past the fact that on the scoreboard, your left columns are worth significantly less than your right columns, but you have to at least go there first.
Mm-hmm.
So in the first game, I was just like, fill up as many columns as I can, left to right. And obviously that's not going to be a good strategy.
Nope.
And taking as many. And of course, the timer in the game, in terms of when the game finishes, is the number you've actually placed. So if your strategy going out is take as many as you can, then the game's going to go super fast because You've just placed loads and loads of pieces, and they've been completely useless and wasted and inefficient. That's what I learned after game number 1.
And I should say the extra layer that's kind of important in here is, with all the different shapes and colors of pieces, there's actually rarity of color, which makes a massive difference when you're placing those pieces left to right. If you grab multiple colors at the same time, you can choose which order you place them in the columns. But because you know certain colors, and it's got a little diagram on your player board about the rarity of pieces, you have to think, well, if I put this green piece here that's a little rarer, I might not get that up as high, which means it's going to affect my row scoring. And it's helpful because I've progressed my colors columns towards the right side of the board, which is higher scoring. And you kind of want those common pieces towards the right, because then you get all the way at the top quickly, but then you don't score many rows. It's got this wonderful tension about it. And again, that's why I was thinking, what is the optimal shape? I don't know if you guys have an answer. Can you enlighten us?
What's your highest score?
I've only played the twice. I'll have to check, actually.
Let me have a look here. For the record, once we figured it out and sort of learned a little bit.
So my first game I scored
won.
68. And then the second game was awful. It was 51. But Mitch scored 101 on the second game.
Yeah.
Awesome. Were you playing with any modules?
No,
No,
just
base
base game.
early. Yeah.
Base game.
101. You got crushed.
Yes, I know.
I mean, the
Like
optimal shape,
101's a big number.
that is a
Yeah,
really big
okay.
number.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say the optimal shape. There is obviously a goal, right? Like
Mhm.
you can try it is like Azul in the sense of you're always trying to do the same thing in Azul. You're trying to get, columns completed in patterns, and like nothing's changing game over game. It's just the challenge of actually of pulling it off. And River Valley does have that same sort of thing where ideally, right, if you could get your far right 2 columns full, well, yeah, you're gonna do awesome. But
Yeah.
you can't do it most games. Like you're gonna do it every now and then, and it's gonna feel incredible.
So what
But,
you're
like,
saying is Mitch has peaked then, because he did fill the last 2
No,
columns.
it wasn't the last 2. It was the
Oh,
it was
you're
the
right.
first, last, and the last. So
Yes,
the
that's
second
right.
last was not filled.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
mean
Yeah,
that's
you had
darn close
55
though.
points sitting right there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. And the other thing that I sort of had to flip in my head from game 1 to game 2 was, I don't know if this is a natural thing that most people do, but it's definitely something I do, is when I saw that rarity chart on the board, I went, oh, they're the rare pieces. They must be worth more points. Like I didn't have that thought, but subconsciously I'm thinking rarer means specialer means worth more, right? So I was kind of like, oh, well, I don't want to use them on my sort of low scoring areas because they're obviously going to be worth something better sort of somewhere. This is how my subconscious brain went. And then in the second game, I'm like, no, I want to get rid of them on the lowest ones because if they
Your
never come out
subconscious
again.
game brain wanted you to score 25.
Exactly. So then the second time around, I'm like, no. The ones I really want to focus on are the common ones, which are going to fill up my, the right hand columns down the end there, right? So yeah.
I'm 100% with you, Mitch. I always set out. There is a risk to that, right?
Yeah.
Ideally, if I can get the rarest possible to the left, then it's easier to get something better to the right and go higher. The problem becomes, though, I think you should always attempt to at least get 2 full mix sets, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Two
if
full
you're gonna
rows, yeah. Or
2 full
columns.
rows.
Oh,
Yep,
rows,
and
yes.
if you're gonna do that, and you put a yellow or orange way up front, you better make sure you go
Yeah.
get one when it comes out, right? Even if it's only one piece by itself, or so there's a little, there's a little bit of a risk reward there. So sometimes it's kind of like in the game, you can just feel it not happening, and you'll do your best. But yeah, it's definitely, that's the idea. That's like, again, it's an abstract, so from a sense of like the puzzle is going to stay the same every time, but it's the how you achieve the puzzle is what changes game over game. So I think certainly, it's. I'm always interested to see people do things different ways. Like I've gone for like 3 full rows before, really hard to do, but it can be pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, generally it's just a matter of you kind of have to let the game come to you and kind of see how it goes because like I said, you always have a plan, but you never know how it's actually going to play out.
3 full rows.
Absolutely.
That'd be pretty impressive.
It would take 21 stones.
Right.
I mean, like,
well, you're not going to get there. Oh, you'd have to do it in like your
Yeah, you
last
get
turn,
that extra
right?
turn,
Like,
yeah.
if you can get to 14 and then the game ends, but you're not the person who started, and so you've got one more turn, and then there's another
Yes.
full round, and you can turn that into 2 fours or something.
The stars have to align.
Yes, you can
Yes.
possibly get to 3 full.
Wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, but yeah, so I thought overall, this will stay in my collection because it's something that I could pull out with any audience. If I've got friends over that aren't gamers, it's when Layla jumped in and joined us in the second game. My daughter's 14, so she jumped in and on the second game with us, and I think we taught her in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
How to play.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
super quick.
The teach is super fast. And you could even not teach it. You could literally say to someone, "You go last." By the time it's your turn, you'll know what's happening.
Yeah. Yep.
Like just from watch 3 people ahead of you do the game. It's that easy. So this is definitely something I think I haven't had my wife play it yet, obviously, because Jules is the only person who has a copy. But I think she'll love it. She loves Azul. She likes those sort of abstract, kind of piece playing
Set collection.
fiddly, yes,
Right.
pattern making games. So yeah, I think this one's right up there in that sort of gateway introduction, welcome to the hobby space that it's going to hit. And with the Bosley art on it, people are going to love it. I think it's going to be a big hit.
Yeah.
From your lips to God's ears, Mitch.
Exactly.
So if I can summarize this whole discussion on River Valley Glassworks, Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's all right. I do have one
We'll take
question.
that. Sure.
I do have one question though. As you said, we're very close. I was wondering if it was going to arrive before, because I think All Play are doing fulfillment as we speak. But the expansion modules that come with it, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on how they add to the game, what they chuck in?
Yeah. So basically, like anything else, right? When you're in Kickstarter land, you've got to come up with some things that help folks be more encouraged to want to buy your game on Kickstarter, which we super appreciate. People and folks that are able to back that. So what we wanted to really do is, we knew that, kind of like, to the point of the conversation, right? We knew what we had designed. It wasn't, you weren't going to pick it up and take it to a group of, heavy gamers, and they're going to be like, this is the best thing I've ever played. But we wanted it to be enough of a puzzle for folks like us that play a lot of board games, but truly, and I mean this sincerely, because so many games say this and it's a lie. They like that you can truly teach it in under 5 minutes, and you can teach it to your aunt and your grandma, your neighbor, your uncle, whoever that might be. And we really wanted to try to keep in that space with River Valley, and make it a game where, to your point, even like you kind of said a little bit, Mitch, you can kind of just start playing without really understanding the scoring altogether, because the first few turns are going to help you kind of get into it, and then as you play, you're going to understand what you're trying to do, and it's going to make sense, because there's really only two things you need to know: put glass out there, take the glass onto your board, and put it in organize it as you go. That's enough for you to kind of get started in play. So we wanted to keep it in that space because that's what we were targeting with that design. But then with Kickstarter, you've got a lot of things going happening there. Again, you have to encourage folks to be a backer, but also, you get a lot more people that are more seasoned gamers there. So what we wanted to do with the modules is basically it's a deck of cards, and I believe we ended up at 5 or 6, I don't recall, and it's basically just one little twist, right, on a rule, and you can play with one or two at a time, and each one adds either a rule or a scoring condition or slightly tweaks, sort of what you might try to do on any given poll or placement, and they're just a way to add a little bit of deeper strategy to the
A
game,
little
like
wrinkle.
yeah, exactly, a wrinkle that has maybe a little more a little more depth, because it's an additional rule. And I don't mean depth in it like as if it's not deep enough before, but just to something that maybe even like I think Rado, when he did his review, kind of said like he prefers it with the expansion because it brings it just a little more complexity, which sometimes you want, right? If you've played it a few times, especially, and if it's a group of more seasoned gamers, then it's a way to add a little wrinkle to it that just gives you one more thing to think about, right, above and beyond the base rule set. So that's what we were really after. You can play
Right.
with 6 of them, I think there are 5 or 6 of them, whatever it is, so you can play 1 or 2 at a time. You can mix it up, play different combinations, try different things, just a way to kind of keep the game fresh and keep it given something to try.
And they will juice the scoring just a little bit.
A little bit, yep.
Righto. So
Like I think River Treasures is the one that you can technically make some pretty good ground on scoring wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people are getting into triple digits pretty consistently with it, but they'll juice the scoring a little bit.
Sure. Okay.
Cool.
But
And it was another
101 is legit, man. That's
101's a great base score. I was gonna say it also gave us an excuse to make Andrew draw some more stuff for us, which is always always a good thing to do if you can.
Yeah. I'm impressed to hear that that's a good score, because rarely am I in the on the leaderboard of anything. So I'll take it.
I think you should. I think my highest base score is in the 90s. So
yeah, right.
101 is solid score, man.
What do they say? Even the sun shines on a dog's ass some days.
Yes.
Yes.
It's such a good score.
One there too. Okay.
Yeah. It's such a good score. It has me thinking, like, can I go to BGA and look up my highest score on BGA? If I ever got I'm going to do that later, because I'm curious if I've ever gotten 100. Because it's one of those things.
In your profile.
You can win that game with like 60 sometimes. Like every game's a little different on how things come out, and how people are paying attention and figuring out like what kind of gem combos. And some people play really tight and don't want to leave. They won't place the gem to create a triple and things like that. So everyone's a little different. So some games you can win with a pretty low scoring total. So
yeah,
As I was looking at my scores, Matt, I found out you can also lose with a 74.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is a real high losing score. I was let down that I had the highest losing score
Wow.
in my stats. So that's not what I aim for. But it's all right. It's all right.
Well, you can just be, you can feel comfortable that your losing 74 would have destroyed Jules's 51.
That's not a great score, 51. It's what? It's not bad for your second game or whatever. I mean, like unless your first game was in the 70s and then
My first game was nearly 70.
So, as you said, no. But I'll tell you what, we are having a good time working with All Play on the follow-up
nice.
right now.
Okay,
and
cool.
So, that's going really well, and
Good.
we're having a really fun time with it.
Nice.
It is going to be, it's definitely a full firm step towards a little more gamer
Cool.
style than this one is. It's not quite in that entry space.
Mm.
It's not overly complicated. It's not what we're doing, for instance, with Queen, or what we're doing with Cranio. But it's definitely enough more that people are like, oh, this isn't exactly that, just reskinned.
Yep. Okay, cool.
Correct.
Bit more sausage on your piece of bread.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're right. And still in River Valley?
It is.
Oh, very cool.
It is still in the River Valley world.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool.
The Valley folk are still involved.
Nice.
I think the intent, right? If River Valley continues its success, which so far so good, as long as we have good ideas, I think they would love to kind of continue revisiting, not like in a thematic sense, because the theme of River Valley is more about play a cool abstract with Bosley art on it, but could maintain that sort of package and kind of product. And by the way, Mitch, I believe my highest score is 91.
Ooh.
So. And so I don't see any trouble. 101 is super impressive. Like I have a couple of high 80s in here too, like 87, 88, 89, but I don't see anything higher than 91. I will say my average score is only 68, but I win a ton. So
yeah, right.
Scores that's an excellent score.
So what I'm hearing is I should never play this game again. I gotta retire at the top.
Yeah,
no, you're done. You're done.
That's it. I'm out.
Don't play until someone else scores better than a 101 base. Nothing else. And then you're like, okay, I guess I'll come back.
I'll give that a crack. So one other game I was going to ask you guys about as well, that it seems to, I don't know, you guys have talked about it in the past and then it dropped off the radar and you don't talk about it. And I think you mentioned that maybe someone was picking it up to publish it and then it's dropped off the radar again. I haven't heard you talk about it anymore. But it is, I think, Durango.
All right, Durango. Yes, it is, and Matt may step in here in a minute and shut me up before I get us in trouble. It is with a publisher.
Right.
It is going to be in a very large line of a very important game, but it will be a little time yet.
Right.
And so basically it is under contract, but the contract is we have 2 years to make it a game that people can purchase. And so hold tight and don't send it to anyone else. We want it, just our queue is full.
Right.
And, it's a serious enough publisher and serious enough game line for us to feel good doing that.
Yep. And cool. I would say it's 2 years for them to start making it a game to publish. So they bought themselves plenty of time, which is good and bad. To Adam's point, we just, they made it very clear that, listen, we want this. We think we want to commit to it. You don't have to wait. You can go sell it to somebody else. But I'm with Adam. That based on the size of the publisher and who the publisher is and the game line they want to put it in, it was worth taking the risk, so to speak, to wait, because they can always change their minds in the next 2 years, and we lost time for nothing. But it's in 2 years it'll still be a good game, and we can still figure out what to do with it. So it's worth it's worth the wait right now.
Is it still?
I think it's actually my favorite design of mine.
Yeah, right.
Like that helped a lot with, and so I can't wait, but I am gonna wait because they paid me to wait. It's amazing how things can change.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it is great. I mean, I think to your point, Mitch, it is slowly in development with them. Like
Mhm.
they kind of work on it here and there, but they're very honest
Mhm.
that they can only work on it periodically right now till it's
Sure.
closer to the top of the queue.
Yep.
And I think it is, and so like obviously all three of us work together, but this is certainly Adam's baby, and he was like, if we had lead designers, he's absolutely the lead designer on it, and it is his best work, if I can say that without being in any way just
Yeah.
self-congratulatory to us. It's I'm not saying that every new thing's not always the best, right? Like people always want to say their newest thing's their best thing, and I
Yeah.
get that,
They're
but
not,
this,
they're not all astronauts.
they're not all astronauts, exactly. So it is my it's really 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 it's a great fit to our loaded roll and write series. One of the things we haven't really talked about yet, which we talked about a little bit here and there kind of quietly, is that our plans right now are to wrap up our loaded roll and write line with Three Sisters Essential Edition. So it's basically taking Three Sisters, going back to it, adding like a full campaign mode, a bunch of
Mhm.
new things you can walk through, play like 12 chapters, or if you don't like doing campaigns, it gives you a bunch of modules so you can do things you can add to the game. You can say, I don't want to play through 12 chapters, but now I have 10 mini expansions basically, or mixed in, that I can just go do. I can play Three Sisters, but I can add this thing. I can there's going to be all sorts of stuff, new bits, new sheets, cards, like all these awesome things. And that's going to be frankly, it's going to most likely replace Three Sisters. That'll be kind of like they did with Viticulture, right? It'll be like, this is
Yeah,
just the
right.
new version
Yep.
of the game. And the intent there is for that to be the kind of the final game in the Motor City Gameworks loaded roll and write line, but there'll still be other projects that are loaded roll and writes from other companies, like the one like Durango. We're
Mm.
working on another one we can't talk about yet.
Yep.
But that's kind of that's what we're thinking is sort of our close out to that line, and then we'll see what's next for us.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well,
So
sounds
it's the
great.
closeout to the line, but we're gonna keep putting things in the line. So
Yeah,
it's
it's kind of
it's not really closeout.
It's just
But,
a new branch off the line.
exactly.
Right.
It's like it's the close out from a Motor City Kickstarter self-published perspective, we think, but you never
Right.
know. Good ideas come along, and we're not going to say no.
There you go.
Well, I mean that whole Kickstarter thing, running a Kickstarter, and Matt, you seem to be the one that wears the bulk of the load on that.
He
there's
sure does.
there's a lot of work that goes into that, and like you guys aren't doing this full time. This is a hobby that you're tying in with the rest of your lives and your day jobs, right? So it's got to take a toll going through those big Kickstarters and doing all the work for that and self-publishing.
It does. It adds a lot of work. Like we think, if you think through, if we're going to do a little inside baseball here for a few minutes, I mean, we're pretty open. Even when we do our biannual podcast, we're pretty open about kind of like the inside decisions that we make as a team and as a publisher. And one of the things that is interesting, right, is you absolutely, the workload goes down as the game ages in a good way, right? You put all this work in up front, your art, your graphic design, that is all that stuff, and then once it's out there and it's selling, hopefully, then it gets really easy because you're just hitting buttons like, hey, this many more, pay a bill, talk to the freight person, talk to the warehouse, done, right? Hand it off to distribution, and it's like those steps are really easy. So every reprint of Three Sisters, which there's been plenty of now, has been just it's, we'll call it hours of work, for a nice return, where the upfront Kickstarter is so many hours of work for not the best return, right? And if you do it and you don't get that back end, then it's like it's tough, right? It wasn't good time value for you. Now, Three Sisters Essential Edition, we're not worried about. Like it'll continue selling like Three Sisters does, but each project that we do, some have better lives than others, and yeah, it is that's a decision we have to make, right, on how much of that time and effort is worth it specific to a new project, and we know that it's worth it. It's just we think the roll and write specifically, maybe have reached a bit of a market softening where there's so many really good, speaking of Australians, right? Isn't Dunstan an Australian?
He is,
That's
yeah.
Dunstan, yep. So like the stuff that he does with Postmark games, right? Like where you can
That's great.
for $7 you print it out and get your own dice, and that's a good game, right? So that makes it a little harder as a value proposition to sell a $35 roll and write. So you just have to be a little careful. We've seen a little bit of a, people are still excited and they still love our games, but they're also competing with much cheaper games, unfortunately. So we've got
Yeah.
a value proposition
That's
isn't
right.
there as much.
That's our other Essen release. Actually, is Motor City, the German edition, is
Ah.
releasing at
Okay.
Essen.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's kind of having a resurgence
Right.
in the retail area because of the German printing, and we're like, keep going, Germany, keep
Yes.
going.
Germans
Buy
will
as
get
many as you can.
it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. So it's good to hear you guys are busy. You got your fingers in a lot of pies, and that's not a food pun, but but with that, we might move on to just discussing some other games that we've been enjoying lately. So I might throw over to Jules just quickly to start with. What have you been dabbling in?
I haven't played a lot of games this past month, but one thing I have been playing here and there is helping develop the expansion for Land versus Sea. And so it was sneak peeked at Gen Con, and you can find a page on BGG for it. But I just wanted to talk about what it is because there isn't any physical copies of the game yet, but it's coming imminently. And Land vs. Sea Uncharted, obviously just an expansion to Land vs. Sea. And if you haven't played Land vs. Sea, it's a very simple tile placement game, very similar to Carcassonne, where the tile placements all the edges have to match perfectly. And there's certain scoring conditions based on what artwork you match up. The sea player's trying to create bodies of water, and the land person's trying to create islands. And you score points per tile that make up that area. And then there's a bunch of artwork on those tiles that you can introduce or take out depending on the complexity you want for that game. And it's just so clever. And the expansion, what it's going to do is add 3 new scoring layers, and as well as a starting tile, which is a grouping of 4 tiles. So your first placement, you can start scoring straight away. Because the base game, you have a starting tile. It's impossible to score anything on your first turn. So it just kickstarts the game with grouping of 4 tiles, and it's possible to score off your very first play. But very simply, Land vs. Sea Uncharted will take what is definitely an entry-level game if you're just playing base rules, and if you start to add expansions, it's sort of Gateway Plus. The Uncharted expansion will really take it to a bit more knocking on a medium weight sort of game if you use all of the scoring layers available in Land vs. Sea. So suddenly, with the expansion, you'll have, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different scoring layers to consider in any single tile placement, which starts to melt your brain. What the new scoring layers for Uncharted will have cities as one of the things in the game, where it will double the scoring of the bonus points for any land mass or sea area that are attached to it. It will also double the value of trade routes that are attached to it. So the trade routes are the caravans and the ships, and the majority scoring. If it's majority ships, then the sea person scores that, etc. So cities just make certain areas on the board when they come into play really important because it will do double scoring. It will add pirates or raiders. So you can actually, if someone is building a massive trade route, then they've got heaps of ships and you're a land player and you just like, I can't place enough caravans there to compete with it. Well, if you start placing the pirate ships next to it, you score points for every ship in that trade route. So it starts to disincentivize people from making massive trade routes to score, because then the other player can just capitalize off that scoring. So it creates more tension in those trade routes. And then the last one, which is super fun, is the menhirs, which are these like Stonehenge-looking mythical structures. And what you do is when you place one, and if you can draw a straight line across the map with no gaps in the board to another one, you score all of the bonus points between them. But also, if that placement of the tile, if you can draw straight lines to multiple, you can triangulate the placements of them, so you score multiple ley lines of scoring at once. And so those 3 elements, plus the coral, plus the caravans and the ships, all of these scoring layers together start to create a really puzzly, thinky tile placement game, which is really cool.
I was going to say, they're starting to hurt my brain already, just thinking about all the different conditions sometimes.
There's a lot going on there.
There is quite a lot. So if you love tile laying games, definitely recommend.
And Matt does.
Oh, there you
do.
go.
I need to grab. So I've had a real renaissance with tile layers lately. Like I've played a bunch of ones I really enjoyed. Like I'm loving Tipiary.
Yeah.
Which was kind of one that flew under the radar as Lookout Games. Really light but clever, and I think I just played the Angry. Well, I don't want to get too far into what I played, but I want to talk about Landon. So I played it once and didn't catch me at the time, but I didn't not like it either. I played it. I didn't own it. I played it. Thought, oh, that was cool, and just kind of never thought about it again. But the more that now that I play so many tile layers again, I keep hearing other people talk about it, and I know Jules, you talked about it as well, and the expansion sounds great. I need to check that one out again because it's very attractive. It's a very nice product, and the tiles are very pretty, and it looks good on the table. And I just I'm having this kind of, I'm really enjoying that kind of weight class, of those kind of light plus tile layers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the clever thing for me and what I love about Land versus Sea is it has all of the scoring elements and all of the art embedded on the tiles. There's no extra components to think about. And if you just don't feel like playing a heavy game, you go, all right, well, let's just not use these 2 scoring layers this game. Ignore them. And you just play. Yep. It's a very cleverly designed product.
Did JP do all the art for the expansions as well?
Yeah. Jean-Paul, the original designer and artist, he has done all of the artwork again for it and helped with obviously developing the game. But yeah, it will be coming out before the end of the year, so it's very it's in its sort of final stages of production at this point in time. But yeah, I've played it a bunch over the past, I don't know, 6 months in helping develop it and tweak the rules and things like that. But yeah, it's just solid. It's just a really good tile placement game. And one thing I actually will mention as well is I've played it with a lot of different people, and for people that are of a similar skill level in gaming, this is a really great head-to-head game. Like, there's so much tension in trying to close off areas, or maybe you're baiting them into thinking you're building this area and you're actually not. And I really, really enjoy it. And we're going to be doing a tournament at PAX Australia as well for Land vs. Sea. It won't be including the expansion, but there'll be a tournament running at PAX Australia. And people will be able to compete head to head over each day. There'll be a little mini tournament that'll run for a few hours. So if you're interested in giving a go and going to PAX Australia, then that's a chance to give it a go and win some prizes. The designer will be there. He can sign a copy. So that'd be cool.
For sure. All right. So that's Land versus Sea Uncharted expansion. Cool. What about you, Adam? Have you been playing anything lately that's been floating your boat?
That's been floating my boat. Yeah. I enjoyed a game that I picked up at Gen Con, Intarsia.
Okay.
I don't know that one.
Heard of that
Matthias Kramer, and it's a new, and it's similar to Azul. It's in this abstract world where you're apparently refinishing the floor of the Café de Paris somewhere, and of course you are. But what really caught my eye is that it's got these really pretty wooden pieces where they nest inside one another.
Oh.
And so like you start building the outer ring of this tile, and then when you play more card, you pay 1 card of a color to build the outer ring of that color. You pay 2 cards to build the next inner ring, then 2 or 3 to build the one after that, and 4 to build the center. And each one of those gives you different rewards in cards. So you keep drawing more cards, but you can't draw the color that you played. So if I play 3 purple, I get 2 cards back, but I can't make them purple.
Right.
And so I have to then take one of the other colors, and that helps me spread the floor out. And I think it's really clever. We really love there's some other scoring that happens where if you're the first person to do certain things, then you get to get a little tile that gives you 1, 2, or 3 points. But they're all like 6 different types of tools that you use in repairing floors, apparently. I'm not big into flooring, so sure, and I'm willing to accept that. But if you get multiple tiles of the same tool, so if I get 2 hammer tiles, the first one scored me, say, 1 point. The second one scores me 2 points, plus it rescores the first one.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And then when I get another hammer tile, it's going to score itself and then rescore the other 2. So you want a whole lot of one type of tool as you're going. The game kind of pushes you wider than deeper, but at the same time, that's the tension there. And I really love it. I think it's really slick. Very much enjoy it. Cromer's great at what he does, and I tend to really like it. And so that would probably be one of my favorites that I've played recently that really I enjoyed.
Very cool.
Sounds interesting.
What was that called again?
That was called Intarsia.
Intarsia. Okay.
Not a great name.
No.
No.
Not one
Intarsia. So if I'm saying that wrongly, forgive me. But it looks like Intarsia.
Okay.
I wonder if it just means floors in some other language.
and what's awesome is, and the cover is this beautiful artwork of people working on refinishing a floor. So it just screams super fun. But it is beautiful. Table presence is through the roof good.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Just gorgeous.
Just the theming and everything reminds me of a game that was spoken about on the podcast quite a while back called That Old Wallpaper. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who knew we'd be having games about wallpaper?
Huh, okay.
Yeah, maybe we could put together like the renovation series.
Oh, we're up to something.
Yes. Yes.
That's that next line. That's that branching line.
That's what we were looking for.
What about you, Matt? Have you stumbled across any gems lately?
I have. So, I'm going to keep it to a thematic tie-in to the Board Game Barbecue podcast and stick with things associated with Australians. And I got to play Cities from Philip Walker Harding.
Yes.
And it did 2 things, right? A, it was super fun. And B, it kind of broke my heart a little bit as a designer because I love tiles. Because I've been playing so many tile layers, I've been wanting to design one. And I had this whole idea kind of laid out.
Oh, no.
And then he just did it better than mine. Like, I'm like, oh.
I need y'all to know how similar the idea
is.
Really?
Similar. Yeah.
If you've ever read like Big Magic, the game, or the book, it's sort of like there was this great idea and it floated to 2 people at the same time. And Philip Walker Harding just did it better.
So,
but not by a lot. Like, I need you to understand it's so similar.
So have you swept your house, Matt, for like a bug or a wiretap?
He does not need me, Jules. So
Don't sell yourself short.
Thanks, Adam. No, listen, I am fine at what I do, but he did it what I wanted, and he did it better because he's Philip Walker Harding. So I sat down to play it. I've always sort of, and this is just really weird because there's nothing wrong with that theme, but like I'm always like on like city tiling themes. Like I don't know why. Give me like some fake nature crap or something. I don't know. I'd rather do that than like cities, but whatever. So you're playing it, and it's so like easy, in the sense of you just put people out, take the thing, put people out, take the thing, and it's very straightforward from that sense. The whole claiming your scoring stuff is a little like that's the kind of game where I can be okay with that. Other games that frustrates me because sometimes there's just nothing you want. Sometimes it's like that's worth 50 points for me, and like you hope you can get it and things like that. But those, it's just so well done, and it's a little bit of tiling with a little stacky house, building things, and it's just super clever. Very it's exactly the weight it needs to be. It takes the right amount of time. It's just a great design, and I really enjoyed it.
I did bring Cities back from Gen Con, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet, so I will have to do that.
Yeah. It's definitely a light plus. It's definitely not like a meaty game, but it's a very good. Like I said, it's kind of just it took a little bit of a teach. There's a few things you have to get through, like for folks to understand, kind of the different goals, because there's enough competing goals in a good way, right? As a gameplay experience, but there's a little bit of upfront work. But after that, it's super smooth.
Yeah, there you go. Another funny happenstance you just reminded me of was on the flight from LA to Indianapolis. Who was I sitting next to? Phil.
Oh.
Did not plan that at all. Like, I saw him at Sydney Airport. I'm like, oh, we must be on the same flight to the States. And of course we were. And then we got there and did our things. And then we're on the same flight, which kind of makes sense, right? The connecting flights. But sitting next to him on the flight, it was like, what are the odds? There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it.
Did he turn to you, Jules, and say, "Don't speak to me. I'm going to sleep"?
I think we both went to sleep.
Like, you know who I am? Whoa, sorry, Phil.
I remember you from that game where you stabbed me in the back, and I still haven't gotten over it. And you didn't say anything like that.
No, nothing like that.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to just quickly touch on a game. So I'll give you a little bit of a background for our guests here today. So this is a game I spoke about a few episodes ago on the podcast, which was Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Okay, this is Ben Pinchback's favorite game.
Oh, okay.
This is interesting. So this is how it went down with me. So I had not played this game before, but I like narrative games. I like those story sort of games, and I like your detective kind of deduction games. So I thought this. Lauren from our podcast, she raised about, I think it's a number one game.
It is a number one, yes.
She's spoken quite a lot about it, and I thought, I can't not give this game a crack. I've got to have a try. So I got a copy, and I thought, it sounds like it's something that non-gamers could enjoy as well. People who like that sort of working things out, a bit of, crime sort of investigation. So I pulled my wife and my daughter in, and I said, let's sit down and we'll have a go at this game. Now, without going into a super whole lot of detail, as I did on the last episode, the game session ended with my wife walking out of the room, stopping, turning around and saying, "Don't ever ask me to play that game ever again." and then leaving. So, needless to go into much more detail, it didn't really hit for them. It didn't go too well at all. And I talked about this experience on one of these other episodes, but I'd committed to giving it another go myself, solo, because I don't think there's a chance that I'll get my wife to have another go.
Well, considering that she, I don't know, the language was kind of vague.
It wasn't.
Never ask me to play this again.
That's right.
That's it. It could. You never know what she means by that.
Yeah, a lot of ambiguity there.
There is.
Just not entirely sure what she was trying to get across. But anyway, so I actually did crack it out, and I went straight to the second case, and I had a go of it myself, and night and day. It was great. I really got into it. I think, at least for me, I can understand. I think it's one of those games, you play social deduction games, for example. If the group buys into it, it'll be a great experience. But if you get a group that really aren't into the vibe, they haven't bought in, they don't really gel with the concept, then they can fall totally flat. And I think that's sort of a similar thing with this. For me, I think why I got into this game the second time around, playing it solo, because I could just take my time and be in my own space with it. So I could, reread the clues I wanted to read when I wanted to read them. There was a couple of times that I got totally stuck, did completely ridiculous things, like at the end of a chapter it would say, circle the letter B to say that you've achieved this particular thing, so that would then unlock other parts of the story. And I just completely forgot to circle B. And it wasn't until I found myself at a dead end, and I'm like, I've got to have done something wrong here, and had to loop back and find it. There, that in a group setting could potentially cause a bit of problems, because people are like, oh, this is clunky and it's not working, and I don't know what's going on, and we're not making any traction, and quickly that things can go downhill. But in a solo scenario where you're the only one working through it, I just found, as I said, being in my own space, being able to work at my own speed, not getting frustrated with the mistakes that I've made myself. I found it a much better experience, and I really, really enjoyed it.
When I played it, Ben, who loves the game, was our reader and the person in charge of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But we had this massive whiteboard
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we had we looked like Charlie Day on It's Always Sunny.
Mhm.
We had strings and lines and arrows and words just written randomly. It'd be like, follow the money, and then it's about the sex, and then the husband did it. Everywhere is just written these random clues, and it was a blast. And so I think what you're saying about if you'll throw yourself into the whole detective role, I think it's a blast.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So for everyone out there that was listening and was upset with me because the experience wasn't great the first time around, I did, as I said I would do, I had another go and had a much better experience. So I've even saved all my investigations so far. I didn't finish the case because I wouldn't put it down. I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm pretty sure I know what's going on, but I know that there's more that I haven't found yet, and I won't fold until I get there. So no, it's been good.
So this is a point where I want to kind of start taking over Board Game Barbecue just for a moment.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I know that y'all do. Y'all are kind. Y'all are nice people.
Yeah.
And so you asked me what games have you played that really you enjoyed that knocked your socks off? All right. Have y'all played anything you didn't enjoy?
Well, there was this first game of River Valley Glassworks. No.
Oh, man.
Going back, there's one game that stands out to me as a game, this is not recent. This is a long time ago, probably 3 years ago. And it's the one game that I've kind of been like, that game is now marked in my book as I don't like. There's a game that I always say I didn't like because I know Jules loves it, but I only say that because he loves it so much.
Oh, I know where this is going.
And that's Inish, or as I like to call it, Binish. but no, that's not a bad game. The game that I really honestly didn't like was a game called Maiden's Quest. I don't know if you guys have ever played it.
No.
It's a card game that you play entirely in your hand. And you basically go through, it's like a dungeon crawl in your hand, and you go through the deck in order. As I said, it's a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact details, but you could essentially interact with the first two cards, but if you were in a position where you couldn't interact with that particular card for whatever reason, you would just move it back to the back of your deck. And so you would go through until you would get the card you could interact with, then you do some sort of challenge to try and defeat it. And if you won, you could upgrade that card and whatever and continue. The problem with it was depending on the shuffle that you got, you could go through 75% of the deck and not be able to do anything. So you're just constantly putting cards at the back of the deck, and it's like, this is just an exercise in absolute futility. Why am I doing this? It was...
I get what's trying to happen, but at the same time, it builds in its own futility. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was horrible. And
it would not have been for me either. I would not have. I would have passed that on to someone who could give it a loving home.
Now, because we are the Board Game Barbecue and we like to be nice, I'm going to throw a caveat in there that there's a possibility that I was doing it wrong the few times that I did it. And if anyone out there in the community wants to come at me and tell me how great Maiden's Quest is, and I'm the idiot, I'll take that on the chin. I'm okay with that.
Yes, because we all know how you played Great Western Trail for how many years?
Oh, don't do
Dude, I've still never played that game right. I love it, but I've been wrong on that game 10 times.
Yeah. I was playing hard mode on Great Western Trail because I didn't realize that you refilled your hand after each turn. I was only refilling my hand when I got to Kansas.
I didn't realize you could be on the same space as someone else. It was super hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Boy, it's just better to go first, isn't it? It was and everyone had to start from the same place. I messed that game up so bad.
Yeah, right.
So yeah.
Oh man.
So what's your I don't like it game, Jules?
Yeah, I was just, as you were talking, I was just scrolling through my BG stats. I was like, man, when was the last time I had a real stinker? And I think
it was at our retreat.
What was that?
It's barbecue law. Dwellings of Eldervale.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is, yes, that goes back a ways. Dwellings of Eldervale, I do not like at all. It is number 0
is-
on every list.
It is being re-implemented
I know.
and repackaged, and so maybe it's gonna be great now for you.
I will give its reskin a chance for sure, but yes, I do not like that one. But that's going back a long ways. The other one that came to my mind, now this is definitely going to be an unpopular opinion for some people, but this is a safe space. I do not like Lost Ruins of Arnak at all.
Wow.
It is, for me, it's just very pedestrian. It doesn't do anything for me whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. This is going to be hard for me to say, but I kind of agree with you, Jules.
Wow.
We don't do that often. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, because I like it. I don't know. It's all right. Like it's not in my top 10, but it's fine. Like it's a good game.
Yeah.
Matt, how do you feel about that one?
See, I like it quite a bit, but I also kind of acknowledge that it's just worker placement.
Yeah.
There was nothing specifically, even when I think, because I talked about this a lot about Dune Imperium, right? Dune Imperium is like top 100 now. It's basically just like Lords of Waterdeep Arnak. And I don't even mean that as an insult. But there's nothing new in Dune Imperium. There's nothing specifically interesting. It's just a well-crafted game that does everything it does correctly, right? And obviously there's a thematic tie in there. I'm not the biggest Dune person. I played the video game. I read a couple of the books, but I get it, right? People like Dune. That's a popular thing, and the game doesn't disappoint you, right? It doesn't fail any expectations you might have. So obviously Arnak didn't have a thematic tie-in, but I guess I feel the same way about Arnak. Like you play, you're like, oh, that was good, So it wasn't. I don't feel strongly enough like I need to come to its defense, but I disagree that it was totally flat.
Yeah.
But I do acknowledge that there isn't anything specific. That's you climb a track.
Yeah, there's nothing broken or wrong about it. It just was very uninspiring to me, unfortunately.
I could see, Jules, like I can especially see that if you walked into it late enough that you'd heard a lot about it and it was very, if it had been hyped up quite a bit, it probably couldn't hold that expectation.
No,
I think I played it relatively early on, and again, I don't own it, because it was fine, and I played on BGA occasionally, and it's it's pretty solid on there.
Yeah,
and it's fine.
Yeah, that's sort of how I feel about it. And look, to be fair, I give every game a go, and it's absolutely not my style of game. Even I walk into plenty of games, I know this is not really my style, but for me, I just want a way to attack your territory or backstab you. It was missing something to just going along the.
You want to not just be an explorer. You want to.
Oh yeah, I want to lay that bamboo.
You want to be able to hurt someone else's explorers.
Exactly.
That's right. I want to lay that bamboo trap that they maul their foot in, and I'm just like, see ya.
Adam, he didn't get the name Evil Jules for nothing.
That is
Evil
true.
Jules.
That is true.
Jules.
I like it.
But yeah.
All right.
Matt, have you played a game recently that you didn't like?
All the time, Adam. I acknowledge that I'm a little harsher on games than most, and I like games, I do, but I also am unimpressed a lot, and that's just kind of the nature of whatever, maybe being a little too over analytical sometimes. I haven't played anything. So my one Gen Con purchase was Tanagram City, which was Uwe Rosenberg.
Okay.
It's not any good. It's like really, really boring. So
did you see Jamie Stegmaier trying to like chuff it up a little bit on a
vlog,
his social media? He was like, oh, it's neat that the tiles aren't the same forward and backward. Like, you should. Has anyone else played it? And I was like, the best thing you can say at this point is the tiles aren't the same backward and forward.
Yeah, it's a real flat game. I think it's just
I think we've got Uwe coming on next week, don't we, Jules?
Yeah.
Well, I loved it. I thought it was great. No, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, at least he finally didn't just steal his own design and redo it again. It's actually new.
But I think for me, actually, if I want to make that game better, like the first thing out of the gate that I would change is that you don't play every tile.
Yeah, it's because you
I thought
basically play the
you were going to say you make the tiles the same.
Make the tiles the same on both sides. No, I didn't mind that they were different. It didn't affect anything for me, and so like it was just like, oh, that's different. All right, and that was about as much thought as I gave it.
Yeah, that was the biggest problem. You're right, Adam. Was that you play every tile and you're like, well, what's gonna happen next game? Because I did everything. Like I did.
Right. I'm just gonna play a better shape.
Right.
Like,
I'm gonna do.
You score in squares and rectangles,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how weird things get on the edges. And I'm like, so really, I just need to find the optimal shape and reproduce it every game.
Right.
Yes.
And I know that there's gonna be some card order difference, but I'm not sure it's gonna be so drastic.
It's like finding that optimal shape in River Valley Glassworks, you know? Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that. All right, it's been fun. This has been
So, I mean,
hot dog buns.
I think that there's a space, for games like Tanagram City because it's super easy. It's very quick to the table. It's it's always fun to build a little tile. It's like, again, it's tiling, right? That we talked about. So it's fun to lay tiles. It's hard, and I was listening to a different show, and they were talking about like, every year that we go by, right, as this hobby grows, does a game need to do more? And that's part of why you see, like a lot of the things that are popular, and speaking of, when we get back to games we did like, we could talk about like Ezra and Nehemiah, and that games just have more and more and more and more and more because there's so many new games and there's so many gamers that have been into the hobby now that it's like you have to keep pushing it. Well, that's not completely true, right? You can still go backwards and make a simple game that's pretty straightforward and easy and has appeal.
They just went too far backwards.
I just think maybe it went too far where it was just a very flat, kind of benign, benign and a half experience.
Benign and a half, yeah.
Yeah. And, but yeah, that's all. So it was just very, very milquetoast.
No
there you
worries.
go.
And did you have anything in particular you wanted to raise to make people aware of, Adam?
No, what's funny is not really. I just know that y'all don't like to talk crap, and so I just wanted to be like, hey, we should try this.
You just want a bit of spice.
Because Matt and I are not afraid to maybe say our opinion negatively sometimes. Now, I'm going to pick on one of my favorite designers actually a little bit. I just recently got to the table a game that I picked up over a year ago. Maybe a year and a half ago, Cloud Age.
Oh, yes.
By Pfister.
Oh, yeah, that game did suck.
Selling that. So I'm going to sell it. So if anyone wants to buy Cloud Age, just hit me up. That thing is on its way out.
You've promoted it really well.
There were too many good Pfisters that I would rather play than to try and see if I can find a reason to keep playing that one.
That's a hell of a phrase you just turned.
Yeah.
But
too many good Fisters.
Yeah,
you like that?
I'm with Adam though. That it because it's Pfister, you have expectations, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You go in and you think it's gonna, and I think what he was trying to do, not to steal Adam's thunder, but is that he wanted to kind of do a little bit of Euro hybrid, little Ameritrashy feel with some, I'm gonna call it the fighting was very Euro-y fighting, but it's still, it's map building, there's airships, there's upgrades, but it just was not very fun. Like it just wasn't, it didn't do, and I don't know, I didn't like it either, to be fair. Like Adam and I both kind of had a similar experience, and it was, and we played together, so maybe it was our own fault, but his wife's about the nicest human being on earth, and she didn't like it at all. So like I feel like
never ask me to play that game.
Yeah, exactly. She basically looked at him in the
very
eyes and said,
rarely,
"No, go ahead. Sorry."
very rarely does she like say, "You can sell that one." I'd be okay with it. But it was an immediate like, "This can go to the sell pile," and I was like, "It's already there, babe." And like I had already packed it up, and the box was on the sell pile. I was like, "That's where that's going."
Wow.
Fair enough. All right, so we might move on then to our just into a few announcements and things that we've got going on. So first up, we've got the Sydney Barbecue Board Game Day, which is on the 2nd of November at Castle RSL. That will be our next one coming up. We just had the Melbourne Game Day yesterday, so that was a big hit from what I understand. I'm sure the guys will be talking about that next time they're on, probably next week. We also have the Brisbane Barbecue Game Day coming up on the 16th of November. They're our two big game days that are coming out next. Tickets are available at the moment as we speak on Eventbrite, so get over there and check it out. I'm going to say this again. I say this every time, and there's always people who don't listen. So open up and listen now, everybody. Buy your tickets now. I will guarantee that these events will sell out, and I will guarantee you will be in our Discord going, I was going to buy one today, but they've already sold out. They will sell out. Don't come into our Discord looking for a ticket the day before because they'll be gone. So if you want to go, buy your tickets now on Eventbrite. They're on sale. The only other thing to mention is that the save the date for PlayCon 2025. PlayCon 2025 is booked in for the 11th to the 13th of July. So keep those dates in your diary. Tickets will go on sale. We'll let you know once that's all ready to be available.
If you want to buy the latest games, there's no better place than Advent Games. They have a huge selection of games with heaps of different categories like light and fun, Euro heavyweights, or hard to find games to help you find the best fit for your game night. On top of being a great bloke and an avid gamer himself, Dean provides excellent customer service, is very responsive to questions or inquiries, and offers flat rate shipping across Australia. So to grab your games, head to adventgames.com.au. That's adventgames.com.au.
So moving on to our next segment, which is our question of the pod segment, where we ask a question about board gaming to our community, and we get them to reply with some of their inputs. I'll quickly go around the room and see if you can come up with, say, one. So the question of the pod last week was, what are your top 3 rules of board game etiquette for game night? So if those of you on the show with me today could maybe come up with one each. Jules, what's yours? What would you say?
I think for me, it would be... oh, man, there's so many things that come to my mind. And there was a really great discussion on last week's episode. And Mitch had a passionate discussion about one of those rules. And I think I'll just echo what he said. I think I'm with him. And that is that the host has a bit of a right of way for what is going to be played that night. It doesn't, and as he said, he doesn't dictate all, or he or she doesn't dictate all of the games that are played that night, but they should have some preferential vote or whatever vetoing power to go, if I've put in the effort of hosting a game night, got the snacks together, invited everyone over and organized it, they should be able to play something they want to play.
Sure.
Agree.
Yeah.
I won't rehash it because yes, I did get quite animated about it. Pet peeve of mine. I'm talking about from Matt and Adam's perspective. I was talking about the people that you organise the day and someone rocks up with 15 games in a bag and is like, "Let's go, we're going to play these." And it's like, I'm the type of guy that's like, I want to be accommodating to my guests and I want to, but so I would prefer people just, maybe.
And if it's pre-organised, fine.
That's, pre-organised, fine.
Yeah,
but
right.
just a pet peeve of mine. So, Adam.
Okay, this is going to reveal a little bit about me that I know will shock everyone. Put it back the way you found it.
Oh, yes.
Like, I don't mind if people take a game and go to a different table and play it, But when I then open up that game later and it is obvious they just threw crap back in
Oh, yeah.
and things aren't sorted the right way, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And then I try and remember who was at that table. And then I like go about the business of like killing like small rodents and leaving them in their like homes. Like I feel like I've got to go and hurt them back like in some way. And so even I get a little bit detail oriented. We'll just say that. And I'm like, you took it off the shelf and it was facing the same direction as every other game. You looked at it, you put it back on facing the opposite direction of every game. It's not that hard to just be thoughtful enough to put it back the way you found it, Matt.
Oh, dear.
I definitely try.
You do. I will say that. I will say that you do. And I'm okay with a try. And I'll be honest with you, there's a couple people that I will say to them, just set it aside. I'll put that away. Because I know that's a hard game to put away exactly the way that I had it, or it doesn't quite fit in the box. I've made a few of those. And it's like, this can only go in one way. Hey, I'll get it. Don't feel pressured to do it because you're just going to do it wrong.
You know,
that's my own fault. But
there was an interesting discussion in our Discord when this question came out, where one person put in as one of their rules is help pack up the game when you finish playing. And someone else chimed in and said, absolutely not. I don't want you touching my game. I will pack up the game. It goes the way I do.
Right.
Yeah. So it was interesting to see the polarizing opinions on how that would go down. All right, Matt, what's one of your board game etiquette rules?
Mine basically is just that, let me know what I'm getting into. So, I think if you're inviting me to a board game day, I want to come play board games with you. But if you've got your heart set on this 5-hour Kickstarter you just bought, maybe give me a heads up. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like I may not want to come do that. So just, I think just level set everyone's expectations properly. Like
invite me, but let me know the reasons I should probably say no.
Correct. Let me just give me a heads up, okay? Because I think we've all been to game days. I think if it's a large group, it's okay because you can always do something else. Where like somebody's got, it's got the game all set up before everybody else arrives, and they're just like hankering to play it, and it's like, oh gosh, like I don't, And my other one, actually, my real one, that one's a little specific. My real one is just if you're gonna teach a game, actually know it. Don't say you know the game and then start reading me the rule book. Don't kirk me, okay? We call it kirking. And that goes back to like 10 years to this guy we don't even see anymore, who used to always show up with some new Kickstarter, new game. He's like, no, I know how to play this. And then boop, open the rule book up and just start reading. Like,
oh, God.
Dude,
like,
the best is I know how to play this as they're taking off the shrink.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know that you know how to play it. I think
exactly. No, I watched the video. Well, Rodney knows how to play it, but do you know how to play it? I don't think you do. Like, I got it. You listen to somebody who knows how to play it, but I'm not sure you actually know how to play it.
That's a good one.
Very good ones. So, Jules, do you want to read out the responses we got on Facebook?
For sure. So, Julian Pombo said, one rule only. You may eat and drink, but if the game gets damaged, the game is yours and you must buy me a new copy. I thought that's fair. I'm with him.
Yeah, that'd be tough to enforce in every situation, but I hear what he's saying.
If it's up front and everyone knows beforehand, then you know what you're walking into.
Sure.
If you don't want to take the risk, eat and drink.
Yeah.
Mark Brown said takebacks are allowed on your turn or directly after your turn, but not after the next person's turn. So there's
so no retconning.
Yeah, no retconning. Yeah, but if it's timely,
well, that means I just have two people I couldn't invite. We have a couple of friends that are kind of known for the retcon.
We've got Adam Delabette said, obviously make sure that the game or games selected suits the group of players for the night so everyone can have fun. That's kind of what Matt was saying before.
That's a better way to say what I was trying to say. Yeah. Definitely.
And Shane Murray said, spending 5 minutes aching over your perfect turn when you've already clearly won is killing the mood. Your high score will float off into the ether and be no more important than how much fun everyone didn't have together.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we had a couple from Discord as well. So I've got Rays has said, don't hammer the new guy. If someone is just joining in for their first play, grinding them into the ground so you get the win is, I would say, bad etiquette. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes you got to show them how to win the game.
That's right, Evil Jules.
And Spenny...
This is a learning experience.
That's it. That's it.
Which he literally did to me with, was it Silk Road?
Silk.
Was it, no, Silk. There's that game with the dogs and the sheep and the
Silk. Yes,
the silkworms. That was I think maybe the first game I ever played with you, Jules. And
maybe
I knew I didn't like you ever since then.
Yes, there were many silkworms lost to the mountains in that game.
Oh my god, that was bad. Anyway, Spenny said, many derive fun in board gaming from interacting with physical pieces, so don't carry out moving other people's pieces unless asked.
Good one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 All right.
I got a buddy that does that.
Don't touch my meeples.
I've got a guy that does it, and it's like, hey, do you want to just play both of our hands, and I'll just go into something else? And we got to ask him every now and then and just keep him in check and be like, how about you keep your hands on your pieces?
Righto. So we've come up with a question of this pod for this week that we'll go to the community with and get their input. And we thought, given we got you guys on the show, it's really only one thing we can ask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
What are your favorite game night snacks?
Good one.
It's a good one.
All right. So let's give the boys a chance to think of something. Jules, we'll go to you first. What do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna put this out here that I'm someone who loves a good cheese board. Just a good sharp cheddar, some brie, some camembert. I love cheese. But the one that came to my mind when we were pre-organizing this question first, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys could probably get this in the States, but it's probably a little easier. It's pretty common in a lot of supermarkets here in Australia, is honey roasted macadamias.
Yes.
Oh,
they're pretty good.
So we do there's a lot of honey roasted cashews, honey roasted almonds. You don't see a ton of macadamia nuts outside of like cookies, oddly.
Yeah.
Like I don't. Right. They exist.
Yeah. Macadamias, like obviously they grow a lot in Queensland. It's a bit more tropical. There's pretty big macadamia farms in Australia, but I love macadamias. Honey roasted macadamias, good snack. And they don't leave depending if you get good ones, they don't leave a sticky residue on your fingers, so it's clean. Oh, I love honey roasted macadamias.
Yeah, right. All right, Matt.
So I'm going to be a total stereotype here. I love Cheetos. I just do. So, like,
that's the exact opposite of leaving a residue. That hands coated in cheese.
It's a terrible game.
You're gonna owe Julian Pombo games.
I am.
Every time you go over.
So I've gotten pretty good at drinking Cheetos over the years. Like you just, you don't actually touch them. You kind of bend the bag towards your mouth, which is, super classy. But yeah, I would say like
so I've got a theory. I've got a theory that evolutionarily, somehow, our species has just figured out that towards the end of a bag of chips, you can grab the back corner, grab the front corner, pop that crease, and then just do the immediate, just complete slide down. And no one ever had to teach anyone how to do that. Like, no one's parent ever had to be like, here's how you do it. Like, it was hardwired into us. It's in our innate firmware, in our knowledge bank, that we know how to do this. Like, that's a state for innate knowledge existing, that we all know how to do that with a bag of chips. I'm just saying.
That's a fact. And I think my other one, this is super old man, is any sort of caramel, like something that, because here's a reason.
Yeah.
Because
let me just translate for the Australian listeners. That's caramel.
Yes.
Caramel, exactly.
Caramel.
Specifically the Ryzen, if I had my choice. But because they take a while to chew on, so you can like pop one,
Savor
on
it.
it for,
Yep.
Yep, you're savoring, you're chewing on it for a while, you're playing your game. You have a nice little pile next to you. They take, you can spend the whole night working through it.
Yep. I'm gonna say I've got a bit of a reputation for having bacon bullets with cheese, which are these strange Costco creation.
I've never seen a man's eyebrows go so high as Adam's just did.
What? I like everything you said, so let's hear it. What is a bacon bullet with cheese?
I don't know if Costco in the US did them or if it was just something that they got over here. But I don't know if you can still get them. But they did this packet of what they called bacon bullets with cheese, and they were essentially bacon made into like. Do you guys have Twinkie sticks or like salami sort of kind of cabanossi type? Into a roll. So they ground the bacon down, they'd mixed it with sort of chunks of cheese and then rolled it into these strips and chop them into sort of small bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why we don't have those. It's America.
Like,
you don't eat a lot of bacon.
It might be a little too healthy. I don't know.
But I cop a lot of flack in the community for my bacon bullets with cheese, which we shared early on when we started doing the podcast. But they are hard to get now. Failing that, I think I don't mind a bit of beef jerky.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one on my list.
Oh,
right. There you go.
Is dried meats, beef jerky.
Yep.
Ben and I especially enjoy the beef jerky while we're playing. Matt, not as much.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not as much of the salted meat group, but Ben and Adam are both really high up in the salted meat user base.
We are.
Yep.
They're jerk lovers.
Yep. And
that's what's up.
And the other one would be I don't mind a little bit of pork crackle.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that that's fried pork fat, right? Basically, or pork skin?
Yeah, pork skin, pork rind.
Okay,
pork
so
rind.
this is like a pork rind, what we call a pork rind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have you tried the chicken rinds or the chicken crackling stuff that I've seen out?
No,
I don't know if we
basically the same thing, but with chicken.
Yeah, right.
You can get them at the grocery store that's expensive, and then you have to go to the other grocery store to get the rest of your stuff.
Right.
Like for us, that's in the Trader Joe's and like Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Where you go in, you get like a pack of bacon and like 3 things, and they're like, "That's going to be $54.48." And you're like,
What?
For what? Did the bag cost extra? Like, what did we do? And then you have to go to the normal grocery store and then still buy all your groceries. Right.
Yeah.
It's in that place. They'll
have to keep an eye for that. I don't think we've got those over here. I mean,
But I would bet that's the same store where I have to go to buy honey roasted macadamia nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. I'm the type of guy, just for the record, I'm the type of guy that walks into a convenience store and will see a bag of chips that's, their latest promotion that says they're doing, honey with olives and tuna flavor or something, and I'll be like, I have to. I'm obliged. I can't leave this store without trying that now. It sounds horrible.
Sounds like I'm going to vomit. I'm going to get those.
But I have to try it. Someone's made that. It has to be tried at the very least. So
it must have gotten through some sampling group to make it onto that shelf.
That's right. There's enough people who like it. They can't all be wrong.
Exactly. And, I can eat Vegemite, Adam. So, anything's up for grabs.
Good point.
Man, that's a different animal right there.
We're a different breed.
Yeah.
I do got to say, every morning when I'm spreading my Vegemite on my beautifully buttered toast, I do spare a thought for Adam.
Thank you. You know what? You can have mine. Just keep enjoying it. Don't save any for me. I think there are 2 things I will say. One is I know what it's not, and that's a turkey leg. And the last time Matt and I got together and played games, I was brought a turkey leg by my wife.
That's
from
true.
the Renaissance Festival.
All right.
And I proceeded to eat a turkey leg and play games. And that's not easy to do. I would have been buying Julian a game. But here's the only thing we haven't mentioned that I would probably include for myself, and that's going to be pretzels. And in particular, I'm going to throw out, I don't know if y'all have them over there, Dots pretzels.
No.
Not that I have.
If you can get your hands on some Dots pretzels, that's a good move. They are definitely like the upper echelon of pretzel.
Okay. The best I've had, again, from Costco, I think they probably still have it around, is the peanut butter filled pretzels.
They're good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're great. And so like, and you're never going to miss with those. Well, I'll eat the whole thing. And so like but I would say pretzels, especially partly because they're clean. They're not like say Cheetos.
Yes.
But they're clean. Even the peanut butter filled ones are clean. And so they tend to do well, and it's kind of a salty snack, and it just it works well for what I'm doing. So
Absolutely.
That's probably the other one I would mention.
Not to make this a Costco podcast, but just on that point.
Well, I'm down with that. That $1.50 hot dog.
I don't know if you guys have this. They do that over your stores, but Jules, if you haven't been lately, they're doing this trail mix now at Costco, and I have one on my desk at work as we speak, which is it's like a tub of trail mix. It comes with pretzels. It comes with mini peanut butter cups.
Oh my gosh.
M&Ms, peanuts. All mixed into one in a trail mix sort of tub, and
I feel like trail mix is just M&Ms with hurdles. And I'd probably rather just have a bag of M&Ms. Like I'll eat the other stuff, and I just said pretzels, so I'm already in that game. But I got to be honest, you said peanut butter cups and pretzels, or peanut butter cups and M&Ms, and I'm like, Get that other stuff out of here. Like I don't need and there'll be like a piece of what looks like tree bark or something, and I'm like, and it's like rye or something, and I'm like, okay, sure, we can go without that too to slide that aside. But I got to be honest, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Been through a few tubs of that already, which is not great.
Yeah.
All right. So, all right. Well, it's not up to us, though. It's up to the community, as we always say. So if you're listening in or you're in our Facebook community, Discord, wherever, and you want to let us know what your favorite game night snacks are, that'd be good to hear. So before we move on to our final segment, just want a quick shout out for our community. If you want to follow along, you can do so on Facebook. You can do so on Discord. You can do so on Twitter, or X, or Instagram is the other one that I don't use, but some of our team do. If you wanted to support us, you can go to BoardGameBarbecue/Patreon and sign up to become a member, where you'll get all access to additional podcasts, invites to our special Patreon events that we'll be holding at PAX and we hold at PlayCon, so on and so forth. But if you can't follow along, or you choose not to, there's other ways to do so. You can just go into Apple or Spotify podcasts, leave us a review. As always, if you leave a review, a 5-star review and a comment, Dan will read that out on the show. So if you wanted to say something, if you wanted to put a tongue twister in there and tie Dan up, or just make some jokes about how old Dan is, we would definitely appreciate that. And just tell your friends, which is probably the most effective way. If you like our show and you enjoy it, we do let people know and ask them to come and have a listen and support us that way. So thanks to everyone who's done that. Thanks especially to our patrons who make it possible for us to continue to do this.
Transform your gaming experience with the Table Flippers. The Table Flippers specialise in handcrafted custom game tables that turn your living space into the ultimate gaming arena. Designed for style and functionality, their tables are guaranteed to elevate your game night. Visit thetableflippers.com.au to explore their stunning designs and to order your premium game table today.
All right, moving on to our final section. So our last segment on the show is called Fired Up, which is where we talk about something that we're interested in, or that's coming up that we're excited about, or that's really got us energized for the future. So I'll throw to Matt first. Anything got you fired up, Matt?
Man, yes. So think for me, what's got me fired up the most, and I think it's, maybe I'm being a little, I don't want to say selfish here, but what I'm really looking forward to is a chance to play, because I mentioned this game really briefly earlier, Ezra and Nehemiah with Adam.
Nice.
Because it's funny because there's two things. Adam, for those of you that don't know, Adam is a pastor, and that does not mean he wants to play a Jesus game at all. But I know he loves the that Garphill game line, and it's funny to me because the theme is so meaningless. Like
I
it's
have
like,
not purchased the game solely because it was a Bible theme, and I'm a pastor, but I don't want to play like the Christian version of a game. Like I can't stand all of that. And so it wasn't that I thought that's what Garphill was doing. Like I was just like, I don't know. I spend so much time with that. I probably just back off. And then Matt's like, it's the greatest game ever. So now I own it.
yep.
There you
So
go.
he did. I would say it's a very good game, and I definitely encouraged Adam in how much I liked it because I figured that would make him buy it, and I was right. So now I'll get to play it again with Adam. And the part that was crazy to me about it is that my one play is that it took way too long. And if I know I talked to you guys about this, and if you've heard our show, I'm really sensitive to time, like with game length and AP. I take very quick turns. I think very quickly, sometimes to a fault, right? I assess the data, I make a decision, I move on. I don't spend a lot of time dilly-dallying, right? I keep things moving. So a game like that took us, I think I took 3.5 hours when I played it with 3 people. And it was that, it rides that hairy edge between fun and work. Like some games can teeter over the edge to being work, and that one almost does, but it never quite did, and that's what made me like it, because it was clever, and I enjoyed kind of like the programming almost aspects of it, where you're sort of like, okay, I need to do this, that gets me that, I can spend it over here, and you're kind of laying out like all your 10 workers or whatever the heck you got, and the card play and all that stuff, and I really liked it. So for me, like kind of it's a relatively new game still, at least over here in the States. So I'm excited to play that with Adam soon.
Very
Sounds
cool.
good. Sounds cool. What about you, Jules? What are you fired up about?
Oh man, I think it's probably been mentioned before, but this is just more news on top of it. Is just the Root expansion announcement. Like we have a launch date for it now. I love Root and new maps. I had a feeling and suspicion. I'm like, I bet they're going to do new maps, and that has been confirmed now. And a shout out to Lord of the Board. He made a fan-made map, which is now going to be the artwork will be redone by Patrick. Oh no, not Patrick.
Kyle.
Kyle Ferrin will redo the artwork for the map, and they might tweak a few things, but they'll have a map fully inspired by the fan-made map that he had done, which I printed myself because he made that freely available for people and put a lot of work into it. And it's a very, very clever map. It's called the Gorge, which is very, very cool. So, yeah, now we have launch dates for the Root expansion and confirmed new maps coming. I'm very excited for that.
All right.
That's
and
cool.
Adam, excluding the Vegemite and cheese combo that's been announced that will be available, what else are you fired up about?
No, that was it. That was it. I was gonna. Does it need to be board game related?
No, it can be absolutely anything.
Sweet. Because if it's board game related, I'm gonna tell you it's Beyond the Horizons launch.
For sure.
At Essen has me really excited, and I love seeing people getting hyped up about it before the show. But actually, one of the things that's got me hyped up, and this is kind of dumb, but this just tells you how I live and probably tells you a little bit about how big I am. And that's that there is a new corn dog restaurant that has opened near me.
Oh, right.
And I am pretty stoked.
That sounds amazing. A whole restaurant dedicated to corn dogs.
Yeah, it's called Two Hands. None of that's made up, and that's what I love about it, is that there's nothing I can say from this point sounds like it's not made up, but it's not made up. I promise.
I have to task you with a very important mission then. You need to get in there, go try their stuff, and if it's good, you need to teach them the ways of the Australians so they can halve that effort. If they put it in a piece of bread, You can use one hand.
One hand.
One hand. Here's the deal. It's a corn dog. It's on a stick. Like, the only way the second hand's involved is if you bought two, like this guy. And so I had two hands involved, and I have tried the house dog, the two hand dog. But man, you can get it half dog, half cheese.
Oh wow!
Like mozzarella stick on the same,
all in
like
one
you can
thing.
get it like all kind. And
What kind of sorcery is that?
I watched it happen. It's from Seoul, Korea, and so the Koreans have figured out the corn dog in a way that the rest of us haven't. And it's amazing. I also had the spicy one, which was rolled in flaming hot Cheetos.
Oh yes.
That Korean specialty, flaming hot Cheetos, is
Dude,
definitely.
it is so good. And so I'm in on the two hands corn dog shop that is near my house. I am fired up about it.
I want to see a social media post, Adam. Next time you go, I want to see you with two corn dogs, two hands
Yes.
on X. Exactly.
This has to happen.
I'll work on it.
Oh dear. All right, so that's just me now. What am I fired up about? Not a lot, really. I'm going to say PAX.
How are you gonna ask the question and just be like,
Yeah,
nothing?
nothing.
That was the most Matt Riddle thing you could have done.
It's just a tribute to Matt. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, no, I think I said PAX, comboed PAX when I was in the last episode, but that's probably the next big thing that's coming up in our schedule. So we've got, I think it's mid-October.
Yeah, mid-October. Yep.
It's a couple of weeks away. It's not far away now.
Not far.
We'll all be making the pilgrimage to Melbourne, which is where PAX Australia is held. And I think just about everybody's going except Lauren, because she just got married. Crazy. So the rest of us, the whole crew will be there as well. So it's going to be great. We've got our big Patreon event that'll be on. We've got all sorts of stuff planned for the weekend. So that's going to be a big one. So looking forward to that. And with that, I'd just like to say, Adam, Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a massive pleasure to have you on. We really enjoy our time that we get to spend with you guys. And so thanks for being here from all the barbecue guys.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. We have a blast too. We love this.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome.
And before we wrap, is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Places people can go if they wanted to follow along, listen to your podcast, buy your merch, any of that sort of stuff?
Shirt, by the way. Beautiful shirt. If you want to buy the merch, you can go to motorcitygameworks.com, and there on the website, there is a store. So there's that. If you want to follow us in social worlds, I am on Instagram as Adam Hill Games, and Matt is on X. Matt, what's your handle again?
MD Riddlen. MDRIDDLEN.
There you go. I will
like
say,
initials,
not for gratuitous promotion or anything, but this shirt, because for those of you that can't see us, which is everybody, I'm wearing the Motor City Gameworks shirt at the moment, and I don't know what material this is, but it's so
the best material ever.
It's
called Tri-Blend.
Tri-Blend.
Tri-Blend. I'm not kidding. And because we had to research it, because we all felt the same way. We were like, hold on. Like, this is not a standard t-shirt. Like, this shirt's the most comfortable shirt I own.
Right.
What happened? And so we had to do a little research. It's called Tri-Blend.
Tri-Blend.
That's not just a regular sheep, Mitch, okay? They didn't just shave a sheep and make our MTG shirts. That was in a lab, all right? A lab created the material.
You've got it as wool. I think cotton is grown in the ground.
That's true. Either way, the sheep created a better image for my...
We need a wool shirt. We need a wool.
I did briefly confuse wool and cotton there. That's all right.
Look, it happens.
That's
So
okay.
what kind of websites are you guys reading?
Oh dear. So thanks everyone for coming along. It's been a blast. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode, and we will no doubt catch up with you guys again sometime. Best of luck with all your releases. Best of luck with the Essen stuff.
Thank you.
And we'll talk. We'll probably listen to you again soon in 12 months.
Any day now.
Absolutely. Keep holding your breath.
All right, thanks guys. Bye.
All right, bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.